So today we're going to be going over Indian style, Eastern influence beats, and let's get started. So over here I found this sitar sample loop, if you will. It's in C sharp. It rolled at about 70 BPM, so I sped it up, and this is what it sounded like. So I picked out two little segments of that, and these are the two segments that I sampled from that loop. And this. Alright, so we've got two samples there. Let's move on to the next layer. I found a bass loop, and it originally sounded something like this. So I took it and I chopped out the segments that I thought sounded good and arranged it like so, and then I added a little treatment to it, some compression, some EQ, and filter freak over here. So let's see what my treatment sounded like. Alright, over here you can see I have highlighted this pad sample right here, and it sounds like this. And what I did is I took a copy of it, I put it right next to it, alright, and then I went down here in the sample editor and I told it to reverse it. So it gets the effect when we play it in reverse. See, it's got that build up and then and on top of that I went in and I added this ping pong delay. Let's turn it on and we'll see how it sounds with that. Alright, next layer. So yeah, I had a professor in college and he taught us that how in India, instead of counting rhythm like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and they use sounds to actually count out their rhythm, like ta or ka or di or mi or na, di, gu, tan, something like that. So they'd be like taka di mi, na din gu tam, trying to count out their rhythms. So I found these vocal samples where it's actually Indian males counting out rhythm, and let's see what this sounds like. So what I did is I had these two different loops, and I arranged them, and then I panned them on two different tracks, and I panned one hard left, or not hard left, let's say about, what is this, 45% left or whatever. Regardless, I panned one left, I panned one right. So you get this kind of stereo effect going on with these vocals over here. And yeah, you can listen to it, see what it sounds like. Didn't really do anything other special to that. I felt like those were pretty original by themselves. So yeah, you can see over here I added one of my favorite Indian elements. I added some tablas. And I just have two different tabla patterns going on, and each one's on its own track. This one's labeled tabla L, the other one's labeled tabla R, and I pan them left and right, respectively. And it gets this kind of interesting stereo effect going on, where you have one pattern doing one thing on the left channel and another pattern doing another thing on the other channel. So let's see how this kind of sounds. Alrighty. Now I'm going to go over the sidechain compression that I did on this track, and what I did is I took the drum loop and I copied it down to this track right here, and I labeled this one kick send, and I cut out all the kick drum hits. So you only have a signal going in this track whenever there's a kick drum. And I set the send, the output to sends only, so you can only hear it in the send's audio pile. It's not going to interfere with the rest of the track, but I can still access that send feed from these kick drum hits right here. And I put a gate on it, and I put a transient designer so I could really bring out the transient and really grab a hold of that signal. And what I did is I went down to the bass right over here and the goal behind this is to have this compressor on the bass track activate whenever it gets a signal from that kick drum sense track. So normally your compressor would look like this, but when you hit this little triangle over here, it opens up all these alternate options, and one of these options is sidechain over here. So I turn that on, so you can see it's yellow right here, and where it says audio from, that's asking me, hey, what do you want the input of the sidechain to be? And I want the input to be that kick sends track that I set up earlier where I cut out all those kick drum samples. And so now, by choosing that, this compressor is only going to activate whenever this kick drum sample triggers it to. So in essence, the bass is going to compress, it's going to reduce its volume whenever there's a kick drum hit. And the reason behind that is, I'll explain the reason later. Let's just see how it sounds. Let's turn on the bass. Here we go. You could ask yourself, what's the reason behind setting up a sidechain compression situation like this? And the whole mentality behind it is that when you compress the bass, when you reduce the gain of the bass, whenever you have a kick drum hit, you make more room for that kick drum hit to stand out in the mix, so you get a nice thumpy, pumping, kick drum hit. And people love bass frequencies. They love to feel that bass in their chest. And sometimes, if you're not compressing the bass in conjunction with the kick, they can kind of muddle each other and they can interfere with one another. And if you really want to bring out that kick drum sample, go ahead and sidechain compress, just like I showed you right here. You can see I added some didgeridoos right here, and you might be saying to yourself, well, hey, that's not Indian at all. That comes from Australia. But yeah, I get it. But at the same time, I thought it sounded cool. And when you play back these didgeridoos, it kind of gives you some sort of Buddhist monk chanting sort of feel, with the but it's a nice droney style tone that kind of, it serves as a glue to, kind of hold everything together. And I did the same thing that I've been doing with a couple of these other tracks over here. I took a didgeridoo loop and I made a copy of it on a new track, and then I panned them hard left and right. So now this didgeridoo exists in stereo, and I added a touch of reverb. And let's take a listen. Okay, so over here you can see I have this vocal sample, and I chopped out a nice little chunk. Let's see, actually this is what it sounded like. So I made my move and I chopped out just the O, and then what I did is I had a little bit of treatment. I raised the volume to show you because I ended up compressing and then altering the gain. So let's put it back to where it was. I added this Maserati plugin right here, and this one handles vocals, and it just added a little bit of compression, a little bit of EQ, so on. And let's turn it on. See how that sounds. A little bit of reverb in there too. Then I added a vocoder, and I lowered the formants a little bit so it made them sound a little bit deeper. And then I added this SPL twin tube to give it some distortion, some overdrive. And then after that, I added the ping pong delay, so it rings out after the fact. You can already hear it going. Alright, let's play the sample back anyway. And it pans left and right, and then I compress that signal from the ping pong delay to bring it out in the mix a little bit more. So yeah, I guess now I'll go over all the one-shots and little ambient effects that I have going on in the background. I have these are some of my favorite samples I think I've ever found. It's these boing hits. I call them that because they kind of sound like boings to me or whatnot. You can see them right here. I'll play them back for you. I love it. And what I did is I took them and I panned them left and right respectively. Let's look at the where is it? The mixer track panning right here. You can see this one's panned. Not completely left, but about 17, I guess that's the reading, and then 17 right on this one. And then I added some, what is it called, some reverb, so you can hear it ring out in the distance. And then on top of that I added this ambient loop right here. You can see this. And then I added these space pads. So there are a few other elements of the track that I didn't go over because this video is already getting kind of long. So I guess now I just wanted to play out, you know, a nice little segment of the track so you can kind of hear how it all sounds as one unit. And you can check out the download link in the description if you want to get a copy of this session, and all the samples are all nicely packaged in a zip file. And you can check out more at our website, beatsinsmore.com. You can get at us on Twitter, Facebook, or comment if you like it. You know, keep it up, and hope you guys enjoy. Here we go.
Ready?